It's going to be a soul moment this evening. It's going to be a moment that we are going to learn, we are going to educate ourselves and inform ourselves on the dynamics of mutual funds, because we have in-house and also those that will be joining us virtually, powerhouses in terms of capital market, powerhouses in terms of finance, banking, economy, trade, and everything that you can think of in terms of economy. It's going to be an evening, it's going to be 2 hours that the best 2 hours of your January that you've spent so far. It's going to be an enjoyable session this evening. I want to welcome everyone in-house. Thank you very much for honoring our invitation. It's great to have you here. As we are all aware, COVID-19 is still out there. Let's observe that we keep up to all the protocols of COVID-19, and it's going to be an enjoyable session. Good evening. So the next item on the agenda, it's about the opening remarks from the Group CEO, the Group Chief Executive Officer of the Imagine Africa Capital Group. She's no other person than Mrs. Tony Folashade Sonny. A round of applause for her, please. That is my CEO. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Olaguke, for that expert MC. As you can see, Imagine Africa has got talents. It's good evening, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed an honor and a pleasure to welcome you all to the official launch of the 4 new mutual funds of Emerging Africa Asset Management. And I stand here to wear 2 hats. First, as the Group Chief Executive Officer of Imagine Africa Capital, and also as the Chairman of Imagine Africa Asset Management Limited. You can imagine that I am beaming with pride. And I would like to start by welcoming and acknowledging all of you who have joined us, mostly virtually today, from various countries of the world and across various platforms, particularly the Zoom platform where this is running. I want to honor and appreciate, seated here in our midst, in person, not virtually, the Group Chairman of the Emerging Africa Group, Chief Dr. Mrs. Oluteko Akonde, OONCON. It has been a major support and inspiration to us at the Emerging Africa Group. She is with us on every occasion, at every event, for every landmark, and the wisdom and the amazing example that she has laid continues to inspire us. Thank you so very much, Madam Chairman. We're truly honored to have you here. We also have in our midst an array of special guests and endorsers who are going to speak concerning the funds that are being presented today. And I would like to start by recognizing, joining us virtually, Mr. Bismarck Rewane, who is the Chief Executive of Financial Derivatives and is also a member of the Federal Economic Advisory Council to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You're very welcome, Mr. Bismarck Rewane. It's an honor to have you. I look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you.
and wisdom has brought us here today, a generalissimo and leader of a great team, who is the managing director of Emerging Africa Asset Management Limited, herself, Ms. Ada Ijara. Let me say now that the fact that it looks like you have an array of ladies seated here, whilst the men are attending virtually, seems to suggest that the men, seems to suggest that the women are braver than the men in times like this. But I'm so happy to note that just in time, barring the masking, I believe that's Mr. Aswe Godalo, who has come in to prove that some men are brave enough to come out despite the time. So, Mr. Aswe Godalo, who is co-founder of Nigeria's leading law firm, BNI, he's also here to represent the men folk and to speak knowledgeably about one of our firms. We're truly honored and delighted to have you here, Mr. Godalo. On that note, I will just say one or two words more about the Emerging Africa Capital Group, and I will believe that my job is done. The Emerging Africa Capital Group is transforming Africa one individual at a time, one company at a time, one community at a time, one nation at a time. And it is indeed a great honor for me to lead this organization in accomplishing its mission. And our mission is to be the leading catalyst for Africa's emergence as a key global investment origin and destination. The work that Ada and her team are doing is a step along the path of accomplishing that. I also want to say that at Emerging Africa Capital Group, we currently have 5 main divisions. The Emerging Africa Asset Management Limited, which is our host today, and provides asset management and wealth management services. And of course, funds management for the retail end, which is what we're here for. We have also Emerging Africa Capital Limited, which is a parent company, and which also provides funding, direct funding to African businesses and governments as an underwriter. We have EAC Advisory, which is the investment banking arm of the group, and we have EAC Trustees, which is the trust and fiduciary end of the business. And finally, recently launched is Emerging Africa Capacity Building, because we believe that all these goals cannot be achieved. We don't build capacity for ourselves, for our industry, for our nation. The capacity gap in Africa is wide. And we think that that is a wonderful place for us to play. On that note, I thank you all for joining us. I appreciate you all, and I welcome you again. I believe that you will have an excellent evening. Thank you very much. God bless you, ladies and gentlemen.
Men got their dream jobs and began earning similar salaries that took care of their needs, wants, and a bit more. However, today, their lives are quite different based on some choices they made with their personal finances right from the start. Several years ago, she immediately set aside a reasonable amount and invested in the financial market. Each month, she earned a significant amount of interest on her investments, and that interest earned its own interest through what is called the power of compounding. Miriam, on the other hand, left most of her disposable income idle in her bank accounts and soon ended up spending almost all she earned, which resulted in her having very little in the way of savings. As time went on, Munachi began dreaming about owning a home, setting up a business, and preparing for a secure retirement. Because she was investing, she had accumulated enough capital to make a down payment on her mortgage, set up a side hustle, while increasing her income. She never stopped investing and learned to create a healthy portfolio of different investment instruments. So even during the recession, Munachi didn't have to worry about higher living costs as her income from investments were available to support her monthly salary. Miriam, on the other hand, didn't have any investments to fall back on. She was spending all of her salary and even borrowing to keep up with her needs. Now, in their mid-50s, Munachi's investments provide enough money to cover her children's school fees in some of the best universities in the world, while Miriam is scratching and scrapping each month to pay her children's school fees. Worrying about how to make ends meet puts a lot of pressure on Miriam that affects not just her productivity at work, but also her relationships with her children, family, and friends. Munachi and Miriam have retirement accounts. Whilst Munachi sets aside a little extra each month to cater for her retirement, Miriam often wonders if it was possible to skip the monthly deduction towards her pensions, talk less of making additional investments. So, while Munachi is ready for early retirement in her mid-50s, Miriam has to work till well after retirement age for a chance to make ends meet. Without any doubt, a decision to invest today ensures that you can achieve your life goals, enjoy a better life, and have a financially secure future. Be like Munachi and not like Miriam, and invest in the Nigerian financial market today. Don't delay, as every day spent not investing takes you further away from your important life goals. This message is brought to you by Financial Literacy Technical Committee of the Securities and Exchange Commission of Nigeria and is proudly supported by Emerging African Capital Group, a leading provider of financial services and investment solutions with a focus on Africa. At Emerging African Capital Group, we link investors with excellent opportunities to preserve and grow their wealth. You may contact us at 13 Tamasule Street, Southwest Ikoyi, Lagos, Nigeria. Call us on +234 813 793 6985 or visit www.emergingafricagroup.com to take advantage of our wealth management products and services.
Thank you very much. To invest in any of the capital markets financial instruments, Emerging Africa Capital Group at your fingertips. It is just from a click away. My CEO was talking about the bravery of the women folk earlier on, and I'm here to tell you that truly the women folk has really shown to be brave. When you look at the economies that manage the impact of COVID-19 in terms of countries that are led by the women folk, talking about Sanomari from Finland, talking about Angela Merkel from Germany, and also not forgetting that Shine Wen from Taiwan. They all showed exemplary leadership in terms of managing the economy well against the impact of COVID-19 excesses. A round of applause for the women for once again. Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is about an opening speech from the MD of Emerging Africa Asset Management. Before I call on her, she is a woman of steel, someone that has 14 plus experience in treasury marketing, consumer banking, private banking, business development, legal compliance, and trusteeship. She had a LLM in corporate governance from the University of Manchester in the United Kingdom, and also an LLB from the University of Nigeria in Nsukka. She's a very energetic woman. She loves to talk about investment a lot. Join me as I welcome Ada Ijara, the Managing Director of Emerging Africa Asset Management. Thank you very much.
Okay, good evening, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for making out time to join us this evening at this very historic event. I'm so delighted to be speaking to you today on behalf of Emerging Africa Asset Management on the launching of our 4 mutual funds. It's been a very busy couple of months, well, several months more like, and we're so grateful that we're at this stage now, and we're so glad that you all can make out time to birth these babies this evening. So thank you very much for your attendance. So Before I dive into my part of the program, which is about presenting the funds, I'd like to just tell you a bit about what's been happening in the mutual fund industry from 2020. So as a lot of us here already know, and then for some of us who don't know, a mutual fund is an investment vehicle made up of a pool of underlying assets, made up of a pool of money that is invested in underlying assets such as bonds, stocks, real estate, money market instruments, as well as other assets. Now, it's no news to all of us that the Nigerian economy slipped into the second recession in 5 years as the GDP contracted in the second and third quarters of 2020. Data from the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics showed that the economy declined by 6.1% in Q2 of 2020 and 3.62% in Q3 2020. And the performance basically was largely as a result of the COVID-19 induced lockdown, which caused significant declines in economic activities. Despite all of these, the mutual fund industry in 2020 witnessed significant growth. As at December 2020, data from the Securities and Exchange Commission showed that assets under management of mutual funds in Nigeria grew by 43% to 1.4 trillion naira compared to 2019. The number of mutual funds have also grown to a whopping 108 as against 88 in the prior year. Fixed income funds attracted 290.5 billion in investments in 2020 alone and closed the year with a 29.1% share of the entire mutual fund space. Bond funds, which make up about 14.99% of the mutual funds in Nigeria, also closed the year with 223.94 billion in net asset value, compared to 49.36 billion in 2019. Money market funds as well also closed the year with a total net asset value of 764.7 billion naira. So we're therefore optimistic about the growth outlook of the Nigerian mutual funds industry, given increasing investor confidence in top brands such as Emerging Africa Asset Management. The growing adoption also of technologically driven distribution platforms, especially amongst millennials, also portends a positive outlook for the industry. We also foresee that investors' appetite will tilt towards mutual funds increasingly, even towards dollar-denominated investments, as they try to hedge against the uncertainties surrounding the devaluation of the naira. So let me speak to you a little bit about our funds this evening, and I'll start with our Eurobond fund. So our Eurobond fund is an open-ended mutual fund which invests in dollar-denominated Eurobonds, quoted by the federal government of Nigeria, Nigerian top-tier banks, and other qualifying corporate Eurobonds as may be determined by the investment committee, and for whom the fund manager has existing board-approved trading lines. With a minimum sum of $500, you can invest in our Eurobond fund, and that will get you 5 units. And then you can also purchase increasing units of 5 in multiples of 5, basically. On the asset allocation as approved by our regulators, the SEC, for sovereign Eurobonds, our asset allocation range is 30 to 80%. For our Eurobonds of Nigerian banks and other quoted Eurobonds of corporate issuers, our asset allocation range is also 30 to 80%. Our money market instruments as well will invest in a total of about 0 to 30% of the entire fund size. The fund size is $2 million, I forgot to mention, and dividends will be paid annually. I'm sorry, it's not. Okay, dividends will be paid annually, and as I've mentioned, the minimum subscription is $500, and this was carefully thought out because most of the funds in the market now will probably have an entry level of $1,000, but we thought to bring down our price so that it will be easier for as many people to come on board. After all, mutual funds are very retail focused. Okay, so next slide, please. Regarding the features, I've mentioned the low entry amounts as well. I've mentioned the fact that it will be professionally managed as well by us, and I've given the asset allocation as approved by the SEC. It's also affords our clients or our subscribers the opportunity to diversify their portfolio by having funds in dollar terms and not just in naira-based instruments. So that's about that for the dollar fund, the Eurobond fund. I'll move very quickly to our bond fund. Now, our bond fund is an actively managed open-ended fund that predominantly invests in a diversified portfolio of high-quality bonds, fixed income securities, and other money market instruments issued by sovereigns, corporate entities, and other entities as permitted under Section 171, subsection 2 of the Investment and Securities Act. The bond size is 1 billion naira, and the minimum entry amount is 10,000 naira. So, dividends will also be paid biannually, and you can purchase your initial subscription of 10,000, and then you can then purchase in multiples of 1,000. Okay, and I'll just go very quickly through our asset classes, and then we'll just look at the benefits as well, and the features rather. On the asset class side, we'll be investing in bonds. About 70 to 80% of the entire bonds fund size will be invested in bonds or other debt instruments. That will be between 70 to 80%. We also will be investing in other money market instruments to the tune of about 0 to 15%. And we'll also be investing in cash instruments as well. So that will be 0 to 5%. As I mentioned earlier, the minimum entry amount is 10,000 naira. I think everybody here, even listening to us and watching us on all our other social media handles, can afford 10,000 naira to invest in our bond fund. So if you could just go back to the benefits. Okay, great. So the low entry amounts, we see that as a strong benefit. That means it's available, it's open for everyone to join in as well. Risk diversification. The fund will also be professionally managed by us as the fund managers, and we foresee that there will be capital appreciation starting from the very first year of subscription. So dividends, as I mentioned, I thought I'd mentioned this, will be paid biannually. So if you invest from now by the 6-month mark, you'll be able to either have the option of either taking out your whatever dividends have accrued, or you also have the option of plowing it back into your fund. Thank you. So we'll move to the next fund, please. That will be the Balanced Diversity Fund. So for the Balanced Diversity Fund, it's a 500 million size fund. And it's an actively managed open-ended unit trust scheme. And our main objective basically is income generation and capital growth through investments in the quoted equities of companies that are female-owned or female-dominated at management level. We're very excited about this fund, and we look at it as a gender fund, which is exactly what it is. And we're looking to also encourage, because we found studies have shown that companies that are managed by women actually do well, in comparison with other companies. So it's our delight to be able to have, to float this fund, and we're hoping that this will encourage more competition in the market and obviously cause an increase in equity prices, basically. For the approved asset allocation, quoted equities will be invested in quoted equities, a minimum of 40% and a maximum of 60%. It's a balanced fund, so at the end of the day, we need to balance the allocation basically to ensure that there isn't too much exposure to the equities market. On the money market side, we intend to invest in money market instruments to about 40% minimum and then a maximum of 60%. Did I also mention that the entry amount is 10,000 naira? And like I mentioned earlier, this is thoughtfully done to enable everyone to come on board, because at the end of the day, mutual funds are all about increasing retail investors. Dividends will also be paid annually. And I think that's about it. The fund size is 500 million. I believe I mentioned that already. And then finally, the money market funds. That's our fourth and final fund for now. It's a 1 billion size fund. Units of the entry level is 5,000 naira, and then you can purchase in units of 1,000 naira. Okay, and they will be invested in credit-rated naira-denominated high-quality money market instruments, fixed-term deposits, treasury bills issued by sovereigns, corporate entities, and other entities as permitted under Section 171, subsection 2 of the Investment and Securities Act. A summary of the fund's asset allocation guidelines is presented as follows. We will be investing in treasury bills between 25 to 80% in treasury bills. 0 to 70% will be invested in fixed-term deposits of A-rated banks. Commercial papers and other money market instruments will also be invested into the tune of about 0 to 70%, and then the cash element of 0 to 5%. So the entry amount is 5,000 naira, and then you can also purchase in multiples of 1,000. So the low entry amount of all these funds, as I've mentioned earlier, is because we want to encourage retail investors to really come on board and begin to actively take charge of their finances. How do you invest? So I've mentioned about all these 4 funds. A simple mail to our client management units will suffice, and then someone will get back to you regarding and then walk you through the steps of onboarding you as a client. You can also take advantage of logging onto our website, where you can easily download the fund of your choice and invest. Finally, I'd like for us to consider that as disruptive as 2020 was, it was also a year of big returns for smart investors. Last year in Nigeria, the foreign assets returned the following in terms of percentage-wise. 30-year FGN bonds returned about 64%. The NSE All Share Index returned about 50%. FGN bonds returned about 39%. USD/FGN and the parallel space returned about 23%. Sub-Saharan African Eurobonds returned about 9%. And then the Nigerian bond returned about 5%, while money markets returned about 2%. So I urge you all tonight that if we start the year right with smart investment decisions, such as investing or subscribing to any, and if not all of the EAML funds that I've mentioned tonight, this can be another year of big returns. Thank you so much for your kind attention, and God bless.
Thank you so much, Adaja. You can see she was dishing out statistics about the performance of mutual funds over the year 2020. It's time to launch the funds, and to do that, I'll be calling on a vast person. When we talk about is a revered economist. When we talk about dishing out economics, things that can make you to take decisions on a monthly basis. Everybody would have been saying on WhatsApp, on all social media, the financial derivatives economic output. It comes out monthly. When we talk about the man I want to mention, is also, it belongs to so many boards of the boards of so many companies in Nigeria and also outside the shores of Nigeria. He's no other person than Mr. Bismarck Rewani. Please join me as he comes to launch the Imagine Africa Asset Management Money Market Fund. Please, we need to spotlight him.
You have me muted.
Please, we need to see you and put on your videos. Sorry.
I can't put on my video. So you cannot start your video because the host has stopped it. So,
Try again.
Okay, now you can. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon. I have a few minutes to do the needful. I want to use this opportunity to congratulate Toyin Sani and the Emerging Africa multiple funds that we are launching today. I'm particularly impressed and interested in the Eurobond fund because, as you know, the Nigerian government has a Eurobond maturity tomorrow, $500 million, and we are informed unequivocally that it will be repaid. And
I would like you to speak up a little bit.
We are informed that it will be repaid promptly tomorrow. We are also, the Nigerian debt profile is not that troubling. I think it's quite interesting. So for institutions like yours that are launching these funds, especially with your expertise and your pedigree, I personally have no difficulty, neither do other investors like me. The professional investment managers have any difficulty in recommending this fund, and in particular the Eurobond fund, as an integral part of any portfolio. I know that the debt markets are treacherous to this, but we do know that emerging markets, in the first 3 weeks of this year, $19 billion came into emerging markets alone, and Nigeria did not get its fair share. So without much ado, I would like to recommend this to all investors in this webinar. And again, to say congratulations once again to my sister, Toyin Sani. Please keep up the good job, and we'll continue to support you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rewani. So glad to have you endorse one of our mutual funds. A round of applause for Mr. Bismarck again. This person to come and endorse one of our mutual funds talking about the Imagine Africa Asset Management Balanced Diversity Fund. This is a fund that actually supports women-led board membership. It supports, we've been talking about the bravery of women folk since morning, and it is one of our mutual funds that really supports that. I would like to mention that apart from, I was mentioning earlier on about what the women folk did in terms of exemplary leadership in managing the excesses of COVID-19. We are also aware that last week, Wednesday, in the United States of America, a new benchmark was also set by a woman, being the first female vice president. I think it is now being a woman-dominated world now. It's coming. Well, it's expected as well that our own NOI, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, is expected to also be the president of the World Trade Organization before the end of the year. And in terms of investment banking space as well, our own TFS is also setting the benchmark. A round of applause for that, please. It's also the game changer. So join me as I welcome to come and launch the mutual fund that supports the women folk. She is the chairman of the board of directors of Imagine Africa Capital Group. Please welcome as I call on Chief Mrs. Okay. Mrs. Okay. Onikede. Onikede Akode. A round of applause, please. Sorry, madam.
Thank you very much, MC. You should have done some homework.
Forgive him, ma.
My name is Chief Dr. Mrs. Onike Onde, Commander of the Order of the Niger. I'm former minister, two-time former minister of the Federal Republic. You can see that we women, we don't want a situation like business as usual. Yeah. That's why we are having a lot of women in important positions. Yeah. You can see our group CEO. It's a woman, she's doing a wonderful job. Mr. Iswa Igodaro, your wife is also doing very well. She is the president of WIMBIS, isn't it? She's still there. Please give her a hand. I mentioned women who are contributing and who really want to be part of the development in this country. It is my pleasure. Well, let me be a bit formal. Good evening, everyone, because there are some people watching virtually and people here physically as well. It is my pleasure to be here this afternoon at the official launch and introduction of our new mutual funds. The expert, Ms. Ada Ijara, has spoken a lot about all the experts. But for emphasis, I want to say a few more things so that people will know why I personally am going to invest in the funds. The Imagine Africa Eurobond Fund is dollar-denominated fund, which invests in dollar-denominated Euro funds floated by the federal government of Nigeria. Nigeria top-tier banks and other qualifying corporate Eurobonds as may be determined by the investment committee and for whom the fund manager has existing bond approved trading plan. The Imagine Africa Eurobond Fund objective is to achieve regular income and long-term capital appreciation, as well as hedge against Naira depreciation through investment in dollar-dominated securities. You can see that this is very, very important because every day the Naira is depreciating. So please invest in this. The fund is also designed to deliver considerable higher returns than what is obtainable from the average domiciliary deposit account in the local banks. The minimum investment is only $500. I'm going to invest more than that. And the application process is very simple. You just need to fill the application form, which is also available to view anywhere here. The minimum lock-in period is 180 days. I can confidently endorse investing in these funds, especially if you have dollar-dominated funds sitting idle in domiciliary account. And you want to ensure there's significant appreciation over time and want to invest with an organization that you can trust. What's best with your funds? You can always trust us at Imagine Africa. And I, as the chairman, I am going to set the ball rolling.
Wow.
I will definitely invest.
Thank you.
I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I want to apologize once again for calling your name wrongly. I really apologize for that. Dr. Nike Akode, thank you very much. So going on to the next fund, talking about the bond fund. To lead us in the launching of the bond fund is no other person okay. During the speech of Dr. Mrs. Nike Akode, one of our directors came in, one of our directors in Imagine Africa Asset Management Limited. His name is Dr. Lukman Adam. Please, a round of applause for him, please. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for honoring our invitation. As well, Mr. Ayuli Jemide, founder of the Detail Solicitor. Please, a round of applause for him as well. Thank you very much. So, talking about the bond fund, the Imagine Africa Asset Management Bond Fund. To endorse this bond fund is no other person. He had already been introduced already by the CEO, something straight away. Is no other person. Join me in welcoming Asui Ugodalo.
I'm going to tell my sister Tony not to pay you. Because you murdered my auntie's name. There's retribution for that, serious retribution. So let me start the afternoon by saying good evening, everybody. Auntie, good evening, man. Always good to see you. My sister Tony, fantastic job. Very well done. Always been a leading light. I thought you were going to practice. I'll tell you the secret, Tony and I were in law school together. And I thought she was going to practice, but then she decided that, because people have this view about lawyers, that lawyers don't like figures. So she wanted to debunk that view.
Absolutely.
And women, and we're in the world of women. So women like kind of smashing the ceiling. So Toyin, you've smashed the ceiling many times. I look forward to you smashing the ceiling even much higher, you know, going into the clouds. I know you can do it. And I look forward to you doing it. One of the things I've discovered, I've been working in this market for nearly 35, 36 years. And many of the greats are kind of retiring. Toyin is one of the few left. So I'm expecting that she'll help rework this market where it should be. Ada, you have a lot of work to do. You have a strong heritage to throw up and to maintain. And to all the staff of the group and the respective companies in the group, you have an obligation, you have a duty, you have a responsibility. And I keep telling people that this capital formation is what is going to develop Nigeria. It hasn't got anything to do with those who are in Abuja. We will just beg them in Abuja to allow us to operate. It's just give us the space, make the rules that make sense, and allow us to operate. And those of us in the private sector, and those of you gathering capital, and then investing it properly, because you know how to invest it properly, will be the kickers for Nigeria. Let me go to what you asked me to come here to do, which is really to endorse the Africa Bond and to recommend it to the market. Ada's talked about the features, and she's talked about the benefits of the four bonds, and she's explained how we can participate. But I'd like to tell, and Bismarck started talking about it, I'd like to say something. There are many people that step out into the market and suggest that they can invest on behalf of retailers, even sophisticated investors. And many of the investments that are brought into the market appear to have extremely good features and appear to be well structured. But I'd like to say a couple of things about these funds that we're coming here to launch today. The 4 funds are extremely well structured. And if you want to look to investing in a fund, that's what you should be looking at. The features of the funds and the benefits of the funds are really mouth-watering and detailed. And more importantly, women are involved. And people have been talking about the capacity of women. I live in a woman's world, you know, I'm surrounded by women at home, in my office. My mother brought me up. She was very particular about a number of things. So I'm biased towards women. But what I tell people when you want to invest, if you're investing, then you must look behind those who are in charge, who are managing, who are running, who are operating, who have structured that investment. And the Imagine Africa Group, particularly for these purposes, Imagine Africa Asset Management Limited, is a well-structured company run by women of integrity. Once you have people who have knowledge and have integrity, then every other thing falls into place. So I'd like to recommend to everybody all of the 4 funds. My own duty is the bond. You know, the bond has been structured such that those people who don't have a very strong appetite for risk, particularly people that are in their 50s and people like me, you know, who are in their 60s, who are retired. I don't want to say people like Auntie, I want to say people like me, who are, you know, if you don't have a strong appetite for risk, that's where to go. You put your money there, your money is safe, you would have regular returns. And most importantly, your money is being managed by people of integrity and who have market knowledge. So you can't go wrong. So I'd like to recommend this bond. It has rebalancing diversifiers. So it's not just investments in bonds. They have a small bit for the money market and a smaller bit for cash. So they're rebalancing and diversifying the structure of the bond. So you can't go wrong. Even when the market is tanking in one way, something balances it. So your investment is safe. So you can see the thinking behind that particular bond. Well thought through well structured. So I'd like to recommend to everybody, I will be participating in that bond. I'd like to recommend it to you. I'd like to re-emphasize the fact that please look behind those who come to the market with issues. That's the key. If the people who are coming to the market with issues are competent and people of integrity and knowing Toyin's track over the last nearly 30 years, you then know that you're in for a good thing. And there's no reason for you not to strongly participate. The economy is not in a great shape, but even when things are difficult, there are those little pockets of opportunity. And it's this kind of team that can find those nuggets and invest in those nuggets and make the kind of returns that will make you be like Munachi, if you're watching like Munachi, not like Maria. I'd also like to commend to you the Balanced Diversity Fund. And that fund, I was kind of querying Toyin on the side. She said women dominated, women managed, women mostly owned. And I said, do we have enough of those kind of companies? So she said, I'll send you a list. I am really amazed and I'm excited. I can tell people for free, and I'm not saying it here because I'm in the midst of women, that most things, when a woman sets her mind, her soul, and her spirit to something,
That's right.
it works. It works, and it works well. And then if you kind of put a high dose of plenty of integrity, it works excellently well. So I can tell you that the team here will find those companies and those securities and those entities and those structures and those investments that are properly run, properly operated, properly structured by women, that have the integrity around them and the savviness around them that are in things that are only the DNA of women. And they will ensure that anybody that invests in any of those bonds, on that particular diversifier bond, will never go wrong. So I'd like to recommend to everybody listening, either in their offices, in their homes, and those of us here, that you can't go wrong with any of the 4 bonds. But those 2 particularly, you really can't go wrong. When you have good women doing good things, you can never go wrong. I recommend the instruments to the markets and to every retailer and even the sophisticated investors. Bismarck didn't say he was going to invest, but he's so shrewd, he doesn't like sharing his market knowledge. So he's going to, tomorrow he's going to send his form in, and many others. I see how you live here, you know, and how you doesn't go where there isn't plenty of money and benefits. You know, he just doesn't roam the road, especially in these COVID times. So I'd like to recommend and commend those 2 funds. I'd like to thank you, Auntie, for your work. I know you put in millions and billions, so the rest of us will try and match what we can match. But I congratulate the group, and I say to my sister, God bless you and well done. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Aguilano. Yeah, to talk about one of our mutual funds as well is no other person. He's joining us virtually. He's going to be endorsing the Imagine Africa Asset Management Eurobond Fund. He's no other person. He's a revived economist. He's no other person than Dr. Biodun Adedipe. Please, a round of applause for him, please.
Thank you so very much. All right. So thank you so very much. And I want to say a very good evening to our very distinguished guests, and indeed my sister Toyin Soni. Congratulations for, let me say ahead of time, the success of this event, because I've been privileged to be here for quite a while now. So I listen to the various speakers. And just to add my voice to what is happening here, and I will take it from this perspective. When I was invited to the investment committee of the fund the first question I ask myself is, if I want to be a part of this, I will put it from the perspective of, if I were to be an investor in this fund, what are those things I'm going to consider? So first is to look at the reputation of the institution, and then the person that is behind it. And then secondly, I ask myself that beyond the reputation, what can I say about the competence? And that competence talks to a couple of things when it comes to investment in the financial market. First is an understanding of the environment. Then the second thing is an understanding of the particular market. And then we now come to the instrument itself and then ask myself, can the competence of this particular institution and those that manage it actually pull together the information and data within these spaces to make decisions that I can bank on? And then I now ask one more question, and that is with respect to, what do I really want if I were an investor? So I want, first and foremost, that my fund is safe. Of course, that depends on their competence and reputation. Then the second thing I told myself is the return on my investment, which means they also will bring the competence to bear in the kind of choices and decisions that they make. And of course, I now said, if that is settled, then the only thing I will need to worry about in terms of my own portfolio, for example, is the liquidity of it. So having assured myself, I prayerfully also got convinced that I wanted to be a part of this. So now the first experience I had, now speaking from the point of view of an insider, is how decisions are made in balancing between regulatory requirements and then what the competence of a fund manager should put on the table. And so in making decisions, therefore, very clearly defined criteria were set in terms of investing of those funds. So, and that gave me a very, very solid assurance, which is the basis of what I am saying today, that looking forward then, I told myself, here now is not only an entity behind these funds, but an entity I see will not only perform now, but also perform into the future, because they don't take anything for granted. So based on this, I also told myself that yes, from the little experience I have in terms of what is happening in the market in Nigeria and also globally, the dynamics of that market, if I see them play out and also see decisions being made, then clearly it's something I want to identify with. Just a quick remark before I stop. And when it came to the diversity fund, I had a few questions, and I was pleasantly surprised and encouraged as to how choices are made in terms of the organizations and institutions that the diversity fund will be invested in. And that told me precisely what is happening globally. I've been a part of 2 global conversations this afternoon with Moody's Analytics, and then there's a fintech conversation by Infosys, which is also happening globally. Now, I've been a part of those 2 this afternoon, and surprisingly, the issues being discussed there are the things I've been hearing since I joined this particular meeting. And that is quite really, really encouraging and at the same time rewarding. So on the basis of what I know as an independent investment committee member, I confidently will recommend the mutual fund of Emerging Africa, and indeed any fund this competent house can put to the public. What I will say to the investors is that you are very sure about what your money will go into and what it will also produce for you. So it comes highly recommended. And I also will say this, let me say as a proof that I'm also looking forward to committing my own personal funds into this. So thank you so very much for having me speak at this occasion. God bless you more and more. And congratulations again, my dear sister and the fantastic team led by Ada. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Dr. Adedipe. We are so grateful. Thank you. A round of applause for Dr. Adedipe once again. And to also join us in endorsing one of our mutual funds, the Balanced Diversity Fund, once again. Before I call on her, I'm going to let those who are joining us online to understand that there is also a question and answer session whereby you have any question that you want to ask, you can just put it on the chat box. One of us are going to answer your question, especially one of our special guests here. They are going to be ready to answer your question. So to endorse one of our funds as well, I'm going to be calling her by her nickname. I'm going to also be calling her by what my GC used to call her, and I know she will forgive me for that, for calling her that. She is actually one of our directors in Imagine Africa Asset Management Limited. She is no other person than Mrs. Osula. Please help me to welcome her very much.
He changed his mind about talking about the nickname.
I think you looked at him.
Yes, I gave him his stare.
He respected himself.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, our distinguished directors and guests. It is my pleasure today to endorse the Emerging Africa Balanced Diversity Fund. I'd like to thank my brother, Aswe Godalo, and our MD of the Asset Management, Ada, because they've already spoken a lot about all that is good about the Diversity Fund. Like they said, the Diversity Fund invests in companies that are run by women. And it's not just because we are women, it's because research has shown that companies that are run by women and owned by women outperform other companies. Hence, investments that are going to be made in these companies are expected to do significantly better than investments in other companies. Now, as investors, we all want to be rich. We all want to be rich, we all want to build wealth, but not all of us do what is required to build this wealth. With only 10,000 naira, so even a student can afford 10,000 naira. With only 10,000 naira, you can invest in this diversity fund. And if you choose to invest, it doesn't have to be one-off. You invest in it, and then on a monthly basis, you top it up so that you start yourself on the way to wealth. The Emerging Africa Balanced Diversity Fund is a gender-based fund, like I said earlier. The fund is very special and unique in that it invests, like I said, in principally securities and companies that prioritize and advance women leadership. It is an actively managed open-ended unit trust scheme. With only 10,000 you can start, and then on a monthly basis you can choose to top up. Frankly, if you want to build wealth, it's not about having a one-off investment. It's about consistent investment on a monthly basis. And in 5 years, in 10 years, you will be surprised as to the amount that you can accumulate over time. I will use myself as a story to say that because of regular investments, when I just started work, even if I didn't work for the next 5, 10 years, I have enough from the return on the investments that I have made that can sustain my lifestyle. Now, I would advise all of you, there's no, there's no fast way or shortcuts, even if you inherited money. If you don't invest this money properly, then you are likely to either lose the wealth or just squander it off. So I commend to you today, not just the Balanced Diversity Fund, but all other funds as this is the beginning of the year and it's an excellent time to start making the right decisions. So everybody that is on board today and everybody that listens to this video, I commend to you, start your way to wealth, retain it, build it, sustain it over the long term, and you won't regret it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Ursula. Thank you very much. So we are moving to the question and answer session now. And I don't know if, I know we are going to have a lot of questions, but we are going to sift through to see some of the questions. So we'll throw it open to one of our special guests. Yeah, I'm going to be reading the questions out, so I'll just speak. Please, can just one person help me with the mic to one of our special guests so that they can answer the question?
There's one addressed specifically to Mrs. Sonny.
Okay, I think that should take the question.
Okay, so we'll take them one by one.
The first one says, can I invest in the dollar in the market?
Can you bring the questions back up?
Okay. This one is talking about how one can subscribe to the Eurobond fund with the Naira Bank account.
Okay. Thank you very much. And thank you, Priscilla, for that question. No, you can't subscribe to the Eurobond fund with the Naira account. We'll encourage you to open a domiciliary account in your preferred bank, and then through that bank, you'll then be able to make the transfer to our custody account, and then you're well on your way to investing in our Eurobond fund. Thank you.
This one is from, he's saying that I subscribe to one of the funds during the IPO, and besides continue investing through direct debiting on all the funds. How can I do this?
Right, thank you, Norbert. That's a great question. And Mrs. alluded to it during the course of her presentation when she mentioned that the entry amount is 10,000 Naira, but you're encouraged to keep building because that's really the way to build wealth. You can't do an investment, make it a one-off of 10,000 and then go to sleep and think it's magically going to become $1 million Naira by the end of the year. So we encourage all our subscribers, when you do subscribe to the funds, set up what we call a standing payment order on your bank account. So, you know, going by your, your cash flow. So if you're a salary earner, you get paid every month. You can literally put a standing payment order through your bank. If you get to the customer service desk of your preferred bank, you'll be able to set that in motion. And then once your salary comes in on a particular day, you can ask that, X amount be wired from that account to our custody account. And that's a great way to, to start building wealth. So that's a really great question. Thank you.
All the other questions. Please, can you scroll down?
There's one from Mrs. Sani. You want to find out Mrs. Sani can find dollars.
I sent that question to you. I'm sorry.
Okay, so the question is on a best effort basis. That's from Bamidele. Okay, so he would like to know that on a best effort basis, can the fund manager source dollars for interested investors? The answer is yes. So please go ahead and download our subscription form and get in touch with us, and we'll put you through. Thank you.
Just scroll down to see.
Somebody asked, how is your fund going to beat inflation? So you might want to talk about the balanced diversity fund and equity component. Should I attempt to answer that?
Thank you. So one of the questions was, how will our funds beat inflation? And when you are in an environment like Nigeria with inflation at double digits, over 15%, it is a pertinent and a reasonable question. And the beauty of having a bouquet of funds is that each of these funds seeks to address
some concern or the other. So the Eurobond fund, for example, is addressing the issue of devaluation of currency, but more importantly also, because the funds are invested in hard currency, the likelihood of currency appreciation will balance out any loss on account of inflation. The same thing with the Balanced Diversity Fund. The equity component of the fund is deliberately put there, and it's put in stocks that we have already heard from OG, that's the name I call her, that we've already heard from OG, also have a track record of outperforming other stocks. So that impact on that portfolio will also offset the likely impact of inflation. So at the end of the day, I believe partaking of your chosen combination of these four funds is a good hedge against some of the macroeconomic concerns that you would naturally have as an investor. Thank you.
If I can just say one small thing to him, it means that you should invest in all the four funds.
Yeah.
So by investing in all the four
That's a good
funds,
idea. You're covered.
at the end of the day, he's covered.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, sir. So, Rebecca is connected from London. How would I invest from London? Adam?
Okay, thank you, Rebecca. Thank you so much for your interest. We're very excited about, encouraging our Nigerians in diaspora to invest in our funds, because we see that, it presents them with the opportunity to begin to earn, a lot higher than what they would earn from just leaving their funds in their dollar accounts or pound accounts or whatever, based on where they are. So yes, we are able to take diasporan investments, and basically there's help with account opening. Everything is done online. You can literally download our account opening forms, and once you do that, we get we get notification at our own end, and we're able to follow up. We can just handhold you through the process, and literally all your KYC documents, your customer documents in terms of your means of identification, your utility bill for your verified address, and all of that. We can you can scan and send us all of that, and we can get you all on your way to investing with us. Thank you, Rebecca.
Let me add something to that. So what I will add is that the custodian to the fund has a global custody account. So wherever your funds are coming from, there is a process by which those funds can go into the custody account, and you will be able to invest, particularly for the dollar-denominated fund, which is what we will assume that an offshore investor would be interested in. So barring any constraints in your local laws, for example, I know the United States of America has restrictions as to what their citizens can invest in. For Nigerians in diaspora, other Africans, and people from most other countries, the same process of investing for a local investor applies, and the international custody accounts details, which we will provide, suffice. I can tell you that I think as of yesterday, an international investor was onboarded successfully, and the funds received accordingly. Thank you.
Very much, CFS. Another question from Patrick. He's saying, do you have any portion of it in a risky sector like mining? Ada, this is a straightforward question.
Mining.
It's
Thank you. Remember, I mentioned during the course, I don't know if Patrick was with us from the very onset. I mentioned that the way mutual funds work is that we pull together funds from clients and then we invest them in underlying assets. So by the name of the fund, it literally tells you what the underlying assets are. So if it's a bond fund, you know that the underlying assets will be investments in, in sovereign bonds. And the same thing with money markets as well. So at the moment, we do not have anything that has, enables us to invest in underlying assets of the mining companies or something. Thank you.
Another question from Priscilla. She's saying, after initially subscribing one fund of $500, what is the investment?
Subsequently, $500. So a unit is $100. The minimum investment amount is $500, which is 5 units, and then you can then invest in multiples of 5, which invariably is $500.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
This one is from he's saying, at what stage is prudent for a business to initiate fund management processes for the growing of the company at the start? I think this is outside what we are discussing here. but you can reach out to us. Just log on to our website. Your questions will be answered.
I'm just saying when that mic is on, this must be off.
Do you please have regional branch in Ghana?
We will
Well,
serve you online. That's what we're saying.
it's a digital world now. You can reach
Exactly.
out
We'll
to
serve
us
you
via our
really.
website.
Yes.
Please scroll down, please. That's all.
We'll get there. We'll get to the rest of Africa.
So, like they said, you don't have to be in Lagos, Nigeria, to be able to invest with us. So from anywhere all around the world, whether it's Ghana, London, Paris, New York, you can invest with us. One of the things that we've all learned from COVID is the fact that we can do everything virtually. So if you're in Ghana and you want to deal with us, all you have to do is download our form and deal with us through our global, our bank, our custodian bank, you know, and your funds, you don't have to be physically there, and we don't have to be physically where you are too.
Let me answer one.
Yeah, I know it's very interesting, you know, but I'm gonna let Tony answer that question. Then I'll say something.
Okay, so the question is it too late to start at 60? And I think I'm qualified to answer that because I'm closer to 60 now than 50. So it is never too late to start investing. And what I will also tell you is that as a professional asset manager, we have capabilities to recommend the types of securities, types of investments that are suitable for you depending on your age, your time of life, and all the other, you know, relevant things. And one of the things that asset management will give you an opportunity to do is they will profile you from a risk perspective and they will advise you appropriately. So we welcome you at 60, at 70, at 80, at 90, at 100. Thank you.
My sister, this one, you asked that question, you know, and I made sure Tony responded. But let me tell you one more thing, you know, I am over 60, you know, and but you know, like OG, I tried to start a bit early, but it's not too late. And when I was talking, I did talk about the features of one of the bonds, and that's actually focused on people like me and you. So get in touch with Ada. She will give you wonderful advice. Okay?
There's also a question from Bossede. Does Imagine Africa have provisions to fund the LPO? Or you can get in touch with us through our website.
Let me answer that. Yes, it's very important. So, you know, recall that when I started, I tried to give an overview of the group. So whilst today is Ada's show and it's for asset management, we do have an SME funding desk at Emerging Africa Capital. In addition, we also have ESC Advisory, who provide financial advice, capital raising for different types of financing transactions. So please feel free. There's actually a form to onboard SMEs right on our website. Feel free to engage us via our website or send your email address even on this platform, and we will be happy to respond to you. I'm going to, you know, cold call Mr. Ayuli Jemide and just say, because his firm was one of the professional parties to these transactions, I think it's a good idea. And he's, he should have a say. So I think it's a good idea for him to add his own words or his own endorsements to this project. Thank you.
Also the leader of lawyers in this area of the law. He's our chairman of the Business Lawyers Association of the NBA.
So it's a one call actually. Thank you very much, everybody. It's a great pleasure to be here and to support this event. One of the things that Big Brother Alspert talked about was the integrity of the people whenever you're investing. Always say that when you want to know where a company is going to, ask who the CEO is. and you'll be able to tell where this company will head to. Toyin has been around for a bit, and she's not just been around with intent, with vision, and she's moved from goalpost to goalpost. So, we can say that, there's integrity back in this. Chief Akonde, who has left, has been a 2-time minister. It's difficult in this country to get into public service and come out unscarred. Yeah. We must give that to her. 2 times. I've known for many years, far back, I know her pedigree, I know her to her home in Benin City. So I can tell you the pedigree that she comes from. And I think you're in good company. I've never met you. But if you're with them, you must be like them. So it's been a pleasure, supporting this cause, and my firm was privileged to work on one of the funds. So I would commend this fund to you. I'm a fixed income person.
I thought you were a risk taker.
I take risks with trying to make money. But when I've made the money, I don't take risks with it. So, long time ago when the capital market was booming, and people told you you would get 100% of your investment. They made all the promises, and people were getting 100% of their investment, and people were selling houses. And I used to buy shares a bit every month, and I gave a stockbroker post-dated checks. As soon as that started happening, I called the stockbroker and said, "Can I have my checks back?" And the stockbroker said, "Why?" I said, "Something is going on wrong here. People are going to lose money. So I'm not interested any longer." And he told me, "GT Bank, this one." I said, "Give me back my checks." Shares, people who invest in shares, they tell you is money you can afford to lose. I don't want to lose any money, even if it's small. So I think fixed income instruments are good. You can plan with your coupons. You can reasonably project that those coupons will come. They do come. And then if you hedge properly, inflation and all that can be taken care of. But the last thing I will say before I yield the floor is about women. I can't leave here without talking about that. Yeah. So, I run a firm that for many years we've had 70% women as the lawyers in the firm, even the admin. And anybody who knows detail will know that we only employ on merit. You come for the interview. If you pass the interview, you get employed. We don't employ people because someone sent you a note. The best we will do if I get a note is to say, this person will get interviewed. So I know that women are competent, they're stable, and they show up when you need them to show up. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. You basically endorsed our fixed income mutual funds. Thank you very much, sir. So let's go back to the questions and answer session. Do we have more questions?
I think we're good. We should. We should underpromise and overdeliver. Allow people to go and enjoy the opportunity. Yes.
I think I saw a
We're
question
always employed.
concerning someone asking what is,
Yeah.
the person is asking if he or she is going to get an exact return on his investment. I don't know if Ada can speak to that.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen questions about this.
So a question concerning what is the exact return I'm going to get on my investment. Or maybe TFS want to help out.
No, Ada is the managing director. She's more than capable.
Who asked that question? Let's see.
Just respond about returns.
Okay, so generally about returns. Okay, Anita. Right. Thanks, Anita, for that question. So you'd like to know, you'd like us to tell you in clear terms what the returns will be when you put in 10,000 Naira or more. Okay, so we have prospectuses for all our funds. So I'll encourage you after this session to please check our website and you'll be able to download the prospectuses and have further information regarding the funds. But I'll just speak very quickly. For the 4 funds, we have projected returns. So it will really depend on which fund actually Anita is interested in investing in. The money market fund, our projected returns are between 4 to 5%. On our balanced diversity fund, the projected returns are between 6 to 7%. For the bond fund, projected returns are between 9 to 10%. And then on the Eurobond fund, our projected returns are between 6 to 7%. I must stress also that the funds, you purchase units of the fund. So daily valuations are done, and this is, a function of, the way the underlying assets are actually performing. And also daily valuations are done. So once you're on board as a client, you'll be able to also follow and also have an idea of, exactly what your returns are based on the daily valuations that are, that will be on our website. Thank you.
I'll just like to, yes. Thank you, Ada. I just want to add that by the grace of God, we have a track record at the Emerging Africa Group of under-promising and over-delivering. So what I can tell you is that you will get the best returns that can be obtained with that class of assets being professionally managed without compromising your risk, compromising your risk appetite at any time. We have the best team managing the funds. We promise to give you the best against the background of the economy. Thank you very much.
One other thing I'd like to say on that is that, when I was talking also, I said something about competence. When you go into this business, please ask questions from people that know so that you're sure about the competence. Now, when you come to this particular company, they are short of competence. Part of their competence is that when they buy a pool of underlying assets, if there are 1 or 2 not doing well, they know when to exit and then reinvest somewhere else. So you're safe. Okay, so please, and I really also mentioned it, and OG mentioned it, when you're investing, especially in this kind of instruments, please look out for the competence of those behind it. And that's why we are fully recommending these funds to you, because of the competence of the people behind them. Thank you.
We've come to the end of the question and answer session, and I can tell you that if we are about to come to the end of the event. But before we do that, I would like to call on a colleague of mine. He works with the Emerging Africa Asset Management Limited. Her name is Lydia for the vote of thanks. Please, a round of applause for her, please.
Good evening, Mrs. Osoda, our group CEO, Mrs. Tony Sami, Mr. Aswe Ihodalu, my MD, Ada Ijara, all our most valued invited guests, online viewers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It is my privilege to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. On behalf of Emerging Africa Asset Management and Emerging Africa Capital Group as a whole, I would like to extend our hearty appreciation to all our speakers for honoring us with your presence, both virtual and physical, and sharing with us your insights this evening. I must mention our deep sense of appreciation to our Imagine Africa Group Chairman, Chief Dr. Mrs. Nika Akonde, for endorsing our Eurobond Fund, and also for being our chairman. Thank you very much, Ma'am, even though she's absent at the moment. Furthermore, we are very grateful to Mr. Biodun Adedipe for highlighting the importance and expertise and our capability to manage the funds. We'd like to extend and express our sincere thanks to Mr. Asue Iwodalu, who not only endorsed our fund, he endorsed the Balanced Diversity Fund, he also endorsed our capability and the structure we have at the organization and our ability to be able to deliver on all the funds. We really do appreciate it, sir. I would also like to express our sincere gratitude also to Mr. Bismarck Riwani for endorsing our funds too, and also our expertise in managing the funds. I would also like to appreciate sincerely our director, Mrs. Ogogo Sula, who also endorsed our Balanced Diversity Fund, and also reminded us that we have to consistently save on a monthly basis so that we will be able to achieve wealth at the end of the day. Thank you very much, ma'am. Our appreciation also goes to all our transaction parties who supported us and guided us through the process of obtaining all our regulatory approvals during the course of this journey. And we also want to thank them for their continued support. So the members of the EAC team, Emerging African Capital team, I cannot thank everyone enough for their involvement and their willingness to take contact on the completion before beyond their comfort zones during the preparation for this program. So once more, we appreciate all our guests who made our time to join us today, both physically and virtually. Finally, and most importantly, we want to thank the Almighty God who made this day possible and this occasion possible. We thank everyone, wish you a very good evening. Thank you and God bless.
Please let people know they'll get the recording and they'll get the recording on the slides because people have been asking.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Lydia, for that wonderful vote of thanks. To our followers online, we are going to get in touch with you. We are going to send the slides and as well as the video of this event to you by email. Thank you very much for joining us. And I want you to note out there that COVID-19 is still out there. Please be safe. Ensure you follow all the protocols as led by the health authorities. Thank you very much once again. Till we meet again, stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you. There's refreshments on the terrace. On the terrace.